In our line of work, we are often helping people when they are at the worst part of their life or the most vulnerable. I'm Angie Miller with Ryan Miller in Coburn, and we specialize in helping our clients through difficult times. We help individuals who have been injured in car accidents, suffered from medical malpractice, or who are facing criminal charges. If you ever find yourself in one of these situations, please don't hesitate to reach out to our firm. We're available 24/7 and can be reached at 406-542-2233.
There's always a party in Montana, whether you're going to a wedding, a football game, a concert. Montana Party Bus can get you there safe and will take you anywhere in Montana. You can relax with friends in style, luxury, and safety. Western Montana based for local and regional travel within Montana borders. Montana Party Bus is great for both large and small groups with a capacity of up to 30 guests. If you want to elevate your event, call them anytime, 406-200-8096. You can also visit mtpartybus.com. Travel anywhere in Montana in style with the Montana Party Bus. Ryder with Ryder back for another week. Mike Ryder joining us. Thanks to our good friends at the Bobcat Collective. Bobcat Collective has been awesome to collaborate with. We've co-promoted a lot of content with them, and they're always great at resharing our stuff. And most of our player interviews here on the Big Sky Breakdown and on our ESPN radio show are also probably presented by the Bobcat Collective. So I appreciate them for all their continued support. If you want to find out how you can be a part of the Bobcat Collective, get a membership at bobcatcollective.com. All right, so I don't even know what to say, where to even start with this game on Saturday. I thought it was one of the weirdest games I've ever seen. It was hard for me because it was at the exact same time as the Grizz game, and I was at the Grizz game doing a bunch of radio stuff. So I was tuning in, but then made sure to go home and watch it immediately afterwards because I was like, I gotta see how this happened. And then I looked at the box score, and I'm just laughing out loud at some of this stuff. I mean, I've never seen a team punt on 4th and goal, but Mercyhurst did that. Granted, they had 35 yards of penalties to get them to 4th and 40 before they punted. Either way, I don't know if I've ever seen anything like that. And I mean, Brett Vegan was befuddled after the game. I don't think he wanted to totally tear his team apart. So I think there was some good stuff, but I think he was pretty flustered with the way that Mercyhurst employed their game plan. So what'd you think? I mean, 17-0 in a game that I think people thought the Cats were going to win like 50-3 or whatever. It was just a really weird afternoon. I give Mercyhurst credit for having the cojones to have a game plan like that and then stick with it for 60 full minutes. I don't think it's ever going to get you a win, but I mean, it's going to get you not a 5-touchdown loss. So I don't know. What'd you think of Saturday?
Yeah, I think they kind of pulled out all the stops, but you do need to give credit where credit's due. And they, on the heels of a trip out to Sacramento the weekend before, and then going home to Erie, Pennsylvania, flying back to Bozeman, figuring out like, all right, how are we getting possible? And they stuck to the game plan. But I will say, they had some players at some certain spots, just some savvy players. Quarterback, drawing a blank on his name, but just I mean, he was a small in stature, but like he was a gifted athlete. He was a good little player. The ability to make plays with his feet. Pretty good arm strength. He had some good balls that he threw. One of their receivers was a pretty good player. But I feel like all in all, they played pretty well. And then I think you got to look at the Bobcat defense first and foremost. You gotta celebrate winning. And I got 1 year to work with old Coach Bobby Houck, and he always said this. He said, "Winning's hard and losing's easy." And so at some point, like winning a football game, it's hard. I don't care what we think in the fans or in the media or anything like that. It's hard to win a football game. To practice all week, to deploy a game plan, play penalty free, score touchdowns, keep the other team from scoring. It's hard to win a football game. And so let's not lose sight of that. Defensively, shutouts are hard. And they shut out San Diego, correct?
They gave
shut out San Diego.
One touchdown at the very end.
That's right. One touchdown, 7 points, right? Yeah. And so you look at 7 points in 2 games. I don't care what you're doing at what level. That's really hard to do. So you need to celebrate the fact defensively that it was a really good game on their part. first and goal from the, I think it was the 2 yard line, and they get 4 stops. I mean, uh, that is something to celebrate defensively. Those guys played physical. I think I got a chance to rewatch a little bit too. Continue to be impressed by the willingness of the corners to come up and set the edge and tackle the ball carrier. They did an exceptional job of setting the edge and being what they call a force defender. You probably heard Ty Gregorak say the same thing on some of the TV coverage, but willing tacklers, force defenders, setting the edge, forcing the ball back inside to your buddies. And so that's something that they've done a really good job of. The gap scheme seemed to be really, really good as far as gap sound defense. And then offensively, I still think they're just looking for an identity. 17 points against a defense like that, who I thought played pretty decent. It's just still looking for an identity. Colter thrown the football quite a few times. Running the ball, yes, over 200 yards, but just it has a different feel to it. I think they're going to continue to get better. It's good to get into league play. And so, all in all, 17-0. You want to see more firepower and it's what we're mostly used to for the last 3 to 4 years. But you don't panic. We've talked about this a few weeks ago. What's the panic meter? It's not high. They've got capable guys. I think the quarterback, I think Lampson's a good player, dual threat, still developing. Ultimately, hasn't played an exorbitant amount of football. Yes, he started some games at Stanford, but I think his best football still in front of him.
5.6 points per game in regulation is what Montana State's given up against FCS opponents. That's 17 points in regulation, basically. 10 against South Dakota State, 7 against San Diego, 0 against Mercyhurst. So I think that's certainly something to build on. I remain completely bullish that Montana State is really good on defense. I think they are excellent, in fact, defensively. That we're going to see now the Big Sky Conference play is here. On the offensive side, though, man, so much of Saturday was Mercyhurst's game plan, but also I thought so much of Saturday was Montana State also had a plan, and I think that part of it they didn't get enough possessions to be able to make their plan enact the way that they wanted it to, because they had a whole plan to rotate on the offensive line the the whole game. Like they were playing
Yep.
Fleischman at both guard spots and right tackle. They bumped Reed away from center for a moment. I mean, they played into their depth. They were getting all sorts of guys reps there on the offensive line and at different spots too. I mean, I think Deegan mentioned on Monday that I think 3 different guys played 2 different spots in the game. So I think that probably plays into some of the offensive stuff, the run game stuff. I think that it also just works better if you can just get up 28-0 or 35-0. But when you only have the ball 6 times, yeah, that's where Brett Vegan, he kind of sighed and he said, "Hey, most games, if you scored on half of your offensive possessions, you'd probably score somewhere between 38 and 56 points, depending on how many possessions you have." This was like an NFL game where you only get 6 or 7 tries at it. And so to score
Yep.
17, maybe it's not that bad. I'm not trying to make excuses for the Cats. I just don't really know how to analyze this game because it was just such an anomalous affair. I just really have not seen very many games like this play out in my time ever covering the Big Sky Conference.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't seen a whole lot of them either. And I think you chalk it up to that again. There's no reason to panic. They've got, there's certainly some areas that need to be developed. I think on both sides of the ball. The identity needs to continue to develop on the offensive side in particular. I think there is a little bit of a concern in terms of some of these. In each game, there's been some throws by Lamson, been a pick thrown really each game that are a little bit of head scratchers, and I think that's always. When you've got someone that believes in their arm and trusts in it, you like it, but you're always trying to get a couple of those decisions out of the quarterback system. Like we can't have that because when you start getting into some of these crunch games, that will be the difference. And so I think that's a little bit of something to coach through, particularly a little bit of a concern and Coach Vegan will get that right. And again, that comes with reps and more time. And then I think I don't even have the stat sheet in front of me. I'm not sure what Montana State had for sacks. But I think maybe there's a little bit to be desired when it comes to like true pass rush. I think Zach Cruz had a sack. I think they ended up getting some a little bit late, but um, they've done a really good job in the run fits, been really physical. I think maybe there's just a little more to be desired on the pass rush side in terms of getting to the quarterback, making him uncomfortable. So I don't even know what the stat says there, but I just feel like watching it, there I would just like to see a little bit more of an uncomfortable pocket. Displacing that quarterback a little bit is always a good thing. And then offensive line, I know they're rotating guys, looking for a little bit of an identity, but the bottom line is you're only as good as you are in the trenches, and that's both offensive and defensive front. And a defensive front is doing a really good job. Offensive line, the guy got a Burke Mastel back, right? The Red Lodge native, and I think that's going to be helpful. They will continue to get better, but they're still just searching for a little bit of an identity there on the offensive front. It looks like an offensive in particular.
We're at Aspen Sound here in Missoula, Montana. Being in this industry since I was in college, one of the things I think we take the most pride in is Aspen Sound's been such a presence in Missoula for almost 40 years. The cool parts about our job is people always ask me, what do you do for a living? I sell fun, whether it's as simple as window tint all the way up to integrating a backup camera into a factory screen. I'm pretty excited about the options we can present to
Meeting her stopped your world. The ring you give her should stop her heart.
Tina, will you marry me?
Not again! Don't worry, I'm gonna fix this because we want to be your jeweler on our beautiful diamond! Clear! Come back to me, Tina! Are you okay?
The 3 sacks against Mercyhurst, 12 tackles for loss. So they're getting, they get in the backfield, quite a bit, honestly. Here's the thing I think is sort of bending the casual fan's mind is that, and maybe this is just me projecting from what I've been able to observe around the Big Sky. I think that Lampson is at worst an above average Big Sky Conference quarterback, but I think he could be a very good one. But other than that, I think that Montana State has a whole bunch of guys that are elite talents at their positions on both offense and defense. I think Taco Dowler is going to be one of the best receivers in the league. I think Adam Jones and Julius Davis are going to be two of the best running backs in the league. I think that whole defensive line, there's a lot of teams that play a lot of good defense. Even the Grizz that I think would love to have a Paul Brott or a Kenneth Iden or a Zach Cruz or, any of those headlining guys. I think the linebackers have been a pleasant surprise. I think there's a bunch of talent. I think that's the disconnect. Yeah. People are looking at this and they're like, man, how did this team go toe-to-toe with South Dakota State and then not just completely wall up, San Diego and Mercyhurst? And they pretty much wall up San Diego. But I also wonder, too, how much of this is just colored by what we've seen the last couple of years, too, right? Like Lampson's thrown.
That's what it is, Colter.
Yeah. Lampson's thrown 4 picks. Tommy Mellott threw 6 picks in 3 years, man. Like he doesn't. And Tommy Mellott threw no picks. Like he threw 3 picks against Oregon State, and that's it. Like he never threw picks ever. And then you also have, people's minds just get bent when the team they're watching rushes for 450 yards and scores 49 points every single weekend. I don't know. I just think that they're going through a transition, and I think that a lot of what, if you have a team that's still trying to find themselves and you have an identity issue, that is a lot more fixable than if you have a talent issue. I don't think Montana State has a talent issue whatsoever. I think they're just still trying to find, their footing and how they're going to go about winning games.
Yeah. You need the Jimmies and Joes. You got to have them. And MSU has recruited at a really high level, and they've got them. It's just a matter of like getting settled into the system. And again, we talked about this a few weeks ago, but look, these are 2 new coordinators. You love to think that, you get a spring ball practice where you're trying to get people ready and it's you're kind of dusting everything off and inputting a whole new system, and you get 15 goes at it, and they're kind of, a lot of reality. They're kind of half-hearted. You want to keep people safe, developing young guys, but then you get into fall camp, and it takes so much on the chemistry side to get a team ready, and you're installing a new playbook and getting used to a new play caller, and it's not the same offense. And so you can't just assume that things are going to take off just like they were. And so I really believe their best football is in front of them. And like you said, they've got the talent, they've got the Jimmies and the Joes, and that's really at every position. I would say the linebackers have answered the bell. Maybe there was some question there. I think there's a little bit of concern with some depth. I'm not sure what the Neil Daly status is, but getting some guys back there. I think the secondary has answered the call, still wants some depth. I think Taki is still hurt, but they've got some guys producing there. Good to see Caden. He's healthy. Corners are producing. You always want to continue to develop depth. Running back's a great spot. I think, O-line, they're figuring that stuff out, and they've always been good about rotating guys. I think if there's one position that Montana State has had in recent years that maybe it's not quite there, I think there's a potential maybe, King is there as a big, tall, outside guy. There really isn't that Frisbee catching dog, type guy, a Lance McCutcheon type. Not to say that we don't have one, but you've got somebody on the inside that can stretch the field, and they're mismatching the slot taco on a safety. We've seen that in some of the over routes. We've seen that in some of the one-on-one situations. But I think maybe just a little bit of that deep target. Do we have a receiver that can go up and get it and win that contested one-on-one somewhere between the hash and the sideline?
Big Sky Breakdown, proudly presented by the Bobcat Collective at Montana State. The Bobcat Collective is the NIL collective that serves Montana State University student athletes. The collective has partnered with Montana State to connect fans, alumni, businesses, and local nonprofits with Montana State student athletes. Opportunities through the collective allow student athletes to earn compensation while serving the greater Montana State University community. Sign up now for memberships and enjoy automatic entry into raffles for free tickets while supporting the bright minds at Montana State. They have multiple different membership tiers, and you can also be a one-time supporter, and you can also business partner or corporate supporter. Visit bobcatcollective.com for more.
Join Town Pump's Pump It Up Rewards Plus program and never pay full price for fuel again.
Save 5 cents on every gallon every day at any Town Pump across Montana.
Plus, earn and redeem points on your favorite in-store items to get free stuff with our clubs.
Stop in and pick up a rewards card. Download the Pump It Up Rewards Plus app today.
Or visit townpump.com/rewards to register and start saving.
Town Pump. Right down the road. Pump it up. Oh, yeah.
Do you think that, I remember talking to Jody Owens when he first came back, and I said, hey, what's been the biggest adjustment for you to sort of learn how to, coach within this defense? And he said, man, they hand you the NDSU Bible, basically. They said, this is the defense we're running. Learn it. Like, this is the thing that we're running. Like, and each coordinator has its own little tweak or whatever, but there's not that much difference between Freddie Banks and Willie Matt Garza and Bobby Daly and Sean Howe. Daly had to adjust to it too, because it's not really like what his DNA was coming into it. But then, of course, he learned as an assistant over those years and then became the DC too. So I think that the new coordinator on the defensive side is not as much of a wholesale change. Pete Sturbeck's offense is way different than what they've run, and they also have a way different guy running it in Justin Lamson. I don't you think that that's probably why you're seeing way more growing pains on offense than defense?
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, it's just stylistically, it's not the same offense. I mean, it's really nowhere close to what they've experienced. Now, there's still semblances of, like, we've seen the 13 personnel, which is awesome to see, and we've seen some of those heavier sets, but for the most part, we've seen a lot of 10 and 11 sets as well. And just the ask of the quarterback it's a lot different than it is in previous systems. And so, again, they're going to come into their own. They've got the talent, they've got the guys there, and ultimately they're in a really good spot. And starting league play at home, I think they've got a good schedule. And this is right where you want to be. You got enough talent, a good schedule that's advantageous, and everything's still out in front of you. Big Sky title, the number one seed for the playoffs, that type of stuff. It's all out there. You just got to go get it.
I was thinking back to, well, first of all, I think in the FCS, it's almost for everybody involved, not if you lose a game, but when you lose a game. And then how do you react
Yep.
from that? Like, how do you build off of that? But I was also thinking about how once you get further along in a season and you build momentum and a team is clearly like getting better and going to the next level, you either forget or rationalize these early season tough games,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Yep.
Like I was thinking back to 2023 when Montana just had an absolute dogfight at home with Ferris State. And to be fair, Ferris State's really good. I mean, they won national championship at the D2 level, all that stuff. But I mean, it took Bobby Hauck's great coaching magic to like figure out a way to pull one out 17-10 against a D2 at a night game in front of a sellout crowd. You're thinking, what is going on? This is crazy. And then,
Yeah.
then 10 weeks later, what happens? Montana just boat races Montana State in the rivalry game, and then all of a sudden they're off and running. They're into the championship game, and so nobody remembers that. They don't talk about early season Ferris
Nope.
State once you get rolling. And I think that's where Brett Vigen said Tom Stuber asked him a great question. Said, "Hey, was this game up to your standard? You're always talking about playing to the standard." And Vigen said, "No, but we got a shutout win when we didn't play to our standard. We're building off of that, and we're going to continue to chase that standard." So I just think that this one's probably just going to be a retrospectively, but I don't think we're going to remember much about this one here once a couple more months go by this season.
No. And what do they say, Colter? There's no asterisks, right? I mean, uh, there's nothing to add into the score. It's a win in the win column. You won 17-0, and no one for the history of our time will ever remember. Like, we're going to move on, and it will not be remembered. That's just how it's going to be. And so everything's still in front of you. They got a talented team, really good foundation, and I'm excited to see as you get into league play how things continue to develop and evolve, because they're going to get better. They need to get better, and they will. And we've seen that year in and year out with these Bobcat teams, even, with the helms of Tommy Millard and some of these more veteran teams, they still got better as the year progressed. And so I don't expect anything else to change this season and this year's 2025 squad.
Riding with Ryder, probably presented in part by Town Pump. Town Pump keeping us fueled up all football season long. Appreciate them for keeping us on the road, getting us from here to there and all over the Big Sky Conference. All right, what's your craziest Eastern Washington story? You played against them, you coached against them. The late 2000s into the early 2010s, mid 2010s rather. I mean, there's some of the craziest games in the history of the Big Sky that went down between Eastern Washington and Montana State. Which ones do you remember the most?
Oh man, well, I remember. Gosh, I think probably two. So, gosh, I remember so many of them. So, a couple as a player, 2009, we go up there, and gosh, they were so talented. And trying to stop Taiwan Jones, like, we're on defense. Taiwan Jones, running back, was one of the best athletes I've ever seen. I mean, I actually was telling this story to a friend the other day. We were golfing, and he just stole my football soul. I'll never forget, like, that day in 2009. We still tell my buddy Dustin O'Connell and we still talk about it. Like, he juked me so bad. I think I tackled my own teammate, like, it was so bad. And I remember getting on the bus after we lost, and it was a controversial game. Everett Gilbert, looking back, he actually caught a touchdown pass and got his toe in bounds. It should have been a touchdown. We should have won. They ruled it incomplete. This is before the replay. And so we end up losing. I just remember getting on the bus being like, I was second guessing, like, man, can I play? Can I tackle like I thought? Because that guy, he made me feel so lesser than that. It motivated you. And it was transcended into the next season where they come to Bozeman. And it was a game that fueled you all the off season. And they came to Bozeman early in the season, like right around now. I think we opened conference play with them, and we beat them down. We beat them 30-7 at home. And turns out that's the spark they needed. They didn't lose a single game after that and went on to win the 2010 national title. So those are two that I remember. I remember some as coaching where we couldn't stop Vernon Adams, and I think they scored on every single possession on the red turf. Our offense was scoring at will, and it was a shootout. We couldn't get any stops on defense, and that plus the loss to the Grizz was kind of the demise of, in the end, of the Rob Ash era and my coaching tenure at Montana State. So I remember that one pretty vividly, and just a lot of really good matchups. Eastern's done a good job. I know Coach Best, he always puts a chip on those guys' shoulders. I think they're not quite from the Jimmys and Joes standpoint what they've been in the past, but they'll bring it. He'll have his guys ready to go. He's always got them ready for both Montana and Montana State, and I'm sure it'll be a good battle on Saturday.
Yeah, that 2014-2015 stretch was wild, man. Like the game in Bozeman in 2014, that was when Tanner Roderick had taken the state of Montana by storm as a high school player. And then he went to Reno and it didn't work out for him. And then he came back and he got hurt. And he was started toiling around. But then Cramsey was like, dude, this guy's so good. We don't have a position for him. We got to figure it out, man. Let's just put him in the game and just chuck it down the field to him and see how it goes. And he had like 5 catches and 3 touchdowns. And that was basically his only moment because then he got hurt again. And it sucks that happened because he was one of the greatest high school football players I've ever seen in Montana. But either way, that game, that was the moment I knew Cooper Kupp was like the man because I mean he just like single-handedly won the game for Eastern. I mean when you guys were up, Vernon Adams just said, "Where's Kupp? Let's throw it to Kupp. Let's throw it to Kupp." And then he had the back shoulder to tie it. He had the 2-point conversion to win it. I think the final score was like 52-51. It just
they got a 2-point conversion. Colter, I remember they got a 2-point conversion. We had the perfect play call. I'll never forget it. We were wrapping we had a twist up front on a 2-point conversion call. We called the twist. We ran it right into the quarterback draw, and it still didn't matter. Vernon Adams makes the guy miss, and it scores a 2-point conversion. Cooper Kupp up at Encini. He caught a screen pass. I don't even know. He like pinned it on his leg. I don't know if you remember that. Like it was a one-handed screen pass that was low. He kind of caught it, pinned it on his calf, pulled it up, and then raced for a touchdown. I mean, the guy was elite. So I probably watching this game. I'm happy I'm on the couch, but it gives me a little bit of anxiety on the defensive side because we didn't get a lot of stops and force a lot of punts against the Eagles in my time as a coach.
Well, neither did they.
No.
It's crazy how much the Big Sky has evolved since then, right? I mean, you hardly ever see those kind of games anymore. That was only 10 years ago. That was what the Big Sky was at that moment. Is boom, boom, like Ash said once upon a time. He's like, it's almost like playing tennis. You just got to break serve because there was hardly any stop, right?
Yeah, and the quarterbacks that they've always had, Colter, are unbelievable. Yeah, I mean they've had. You think from Eric Meyer to Bo Levi Mitchell, who I played against, and he long career in the CFL, and Vernon Adams. I mean they've had Gage Gabrud. I mean they've had so many guys. Even the Vesperis last year was a heck of a player. I'm probably missing some guys in there, but they've always got a gunslinger. In full transparency, I haven't watched any of their games, so I don't know who they've got under center these days. But this is a fun rivalry. I mean, Montana State versus Eastern is a rivalry in itself. It's always a fun game, and always fortunate when you get it at home because they do a good job on that red turf, and it's a different environment up there. So grateful to have it in Bozeman, and excited to see what the Bobcats put out there for a product on Saturday.
Ryder here on the Big Sky Breakdown. Thanks for doing it, buddy. Talk to you again next week.
Yep. Appreciate you, man.